Welcome and good morning, everyone. It is 10 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, and that must mean it's time to get started with another session from Action Academy. My name is Randy Lober, Growth Marketing Manager here at Action Benefits, and part of my role is putting you, independent insurance agents, in a position where you know more, can sell more, can do more, and comply more to help grow your business and really support the beneficiaries in and around your communities. Joining me today is one of our account managers from our individual team, Andrew Nordstrom. Andrew, go ahead and say hi to the people before we get started, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us this morning. Looking forward to it. And again, thanks for being here.
Thank you for joining us here, Andrew. I'm sure our agents and attendees are going to love what you have to add to the conversation here today. As an account manager on our individual team, Andrew does a lot to work one-on-one personally with each of you to grow and develop your business. And we'll see. So he has a lot of unique insight to share about how to run a Medicare appointment here today, as he's learned with and from all of the agents he supports. Today's session is 10 steps to a seamless Medicare sales meeting, and that's what we want to accomplish here today. But now that you know who's in the room with you, we want to know who's trapped in here with us for the next 40 minutes or so. Which of these statements best describes you? Is it A, you're brand new to the Medicare market? B, you have experience in the Medicare market, but you're new to Action Benefits? C, you have experience with Medicare in Action, but you're really curious about this topic? Or is it D, you're a seasoned pro and you just love spending time with Action? You rolled out of bed today and said, I'm talking about Medicare, I'm talking about appointments, just spend time with Randy, Andrew. Those are like four of my favorite things in the morning. Go ahead, please, and put the letter that best describes you in the chat. Pause just for a moment as those come roll in. I see some good smattering of things coming in. Give you a few more moments to get your typing fingers ready here. All right, pretty good mix. No one brand new to the market here today. That's okay. We're still going to get a lot out of today's session. Lots of Bs, lots of people who might be new to Action Benefits. And gosh, welcome along for the ride here. We have a lot to offer the agent community. Whether you're already partnered with us or have not yet partnered with us, we hope this is a great introduction to some of the support we provide to you, our agent partners and prospective partners here as well. For those of you that have some experience with us, well, welcome back. We're happy to help you refine your processes here today. And for Jessica, who confessed her love for us, well, we love you too, Jessica. Thanks for joining us here this morning. The reason we asked that question near the beginning of every session is because there are some things that it really helps us tailor what our talking points for the session. Because we don't have any true newbies here to the Medicare market, we don't have to give you as deep of a dive as we might on some aspects, though by no means will we shortchange you. We just won't be talking about defining parts A, B, C, and D today, because we know, hopefully, probably as veteran agents, you know what those four things are. So what are we going to do today? There's two things we want to accomplish in our time together. First thing is we want to break down a 10-step process for a compliant and seamless Medicare sales appointment. Second thing we want to do is highlight some resources that we here at Action provide to make all those 10 steps go a bit smoother. And so you might be thinking to yourself, or you might be asking me, Randy, or him, Andrew, why are we doing this session? Why are we doing this in the middle of June? Why now? And well, fact is that AEP is a lot closer than you think it is. We're already talking to carriers about scheduling product rollout trainings, product launches. And if this is a great time to sort of tune up and everything and make sure that you are in ship shape here in the off season, so to speak, before the rubber hits the road during AEP coming up in October. So we want to provide this session not here now as a way for you to kind of see what else is out there, maybe get back to basics or incorporate some new basics, so to speak, and really help you refine that process going forward. So let's talk about the process. That's 4 minutes of introduction. Where's the actual learning? Here it is. Here it comes. First thing we encourage all of our agents to do, and we should mention that we support over 1,200 agents in the Medicare market. So we do have a variety of experience and a variety of agents' expertise represented here today. So we kind of brought a lot of expertise together here and what we've learned with and from our agents and from those who are from our own experience in the field about, what we think makes a pretty good appointment here. If our first step for the appointment is preparing for the appointment, there's a few things we have to do to prepare before we even talk to that beneficiary, before we talk product, before we do anything else. And the first thing is we've got to get a signed scope of appointment and observe that 48-hour waiting period, much to, I think, the chagrin of many of you who saw that come back a few years ago. Just a reminder, though, that no matter the enrollment period, so long as someone has a valid enrollment period, in the last 4 days of that period, the 48-hour rule doesn't apply. Yes, you'll still need a scope, but say you have someone aging into Medicare and they are in the last of the 7 months of their IEP, during those last 4 days, again, you don't need to wait that 48 hours. Same thing toward the end of AEP or toward MAOEP throughout the year, right? Those last 4 hours, you don't need to wait that 48-hour period, or last 4 days, you don't need to wait that 48-hour period. Otherwise, they'd miss their chance to enroll, and that's no good for anyone. Once you have an idea, though, of what sort of products that beneficiary wants to discuss, it's always a great idea to provide product guidebooks or plan materials in advance. So they have an opportunity to take a look through them and figure out what they might be interested in, or maybe even better for you, what they're not interested in. So you can kind of narrow that conversation as appropriate. And we'd also encourage you to gather your doctors, drugs, and other information via client intake forms, whether you have a paper form you give to someone, whether you use other software, or whether you use Coverage for One provided to you by Action Benefits. Lots of different ways you can get that done, but it's always important to have that information up front so you can make sure that the plans you're considering and the plans you present do cover those doctors and drugs that your prospect or current beneficiary might want. Andrew, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about scopes of employment and what you might have seen there here as well, and a recent case that we had around that.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I was messing with my settings. Yeah, a couple of things. One, I mean, as we go through this training, we'll talk about more items here, but I think the thing that is exciting about just this kind of training and having a process going into a meeting, when I'm talking to newer agents, the big thing that always comes up is you don't know what you don't know. Oh, I thought I was going into this meeting. I thought I was really well prepared. And then client threw this curveball at me. We can't prevent all the curveballs from coming at you, but going into it with a good game plan should really help minimize the curveballs. So just that is exciting about just this process, I think. But with the scopes, scopes are really important, not just if something goes wrong or the client has an issue down the line. We're seeing random carrier audits pretty regularly. No issues. They're just grabbing out of a hat and taking a look. So it doesn't matter if the smoothest meeting you've ever had with the client and the client is your mom. Carrier can grab, you know what, we're going to take a look at this one randomly. And just because you knew the person, it was a super casual meeting. Because of that, you didn't get a scope. Now all of a sudden you're having a different conversation. So please make sure you're always getting that scope going into a meeting.
Yes, excellent compliance reminder. And we'll have a few more of those compliance tips all throughout this session here as well. If things as veteran agents, right? But things you should always remember to do here going forward. Speaking of client intake forms, if you're not yet using the client intake form available to you in Coverage for One, we should know, first of all, that Coverage for One is powered by Sunfire. So you'll see here from my training environment, Sunfire logo is everywhere. That's because that's just what happens in the training environment. They don't have the Coverage for One skin on it, so to speak. But if you're not yet using the platform, it does provide you a really smooth way to get things in front of clients and really collect some of that valuable information that helps you collect doctors, drugs, and get the scope signed all well ahead of your appointment. So you could give a link, for example, to your clients, have them start the Medicare guide here. Training user would be replaced with your name, your email, your contact number. But again, looking for a sample training environment here. And as they go forward, you're going to collect their name, their date of birth, their email, and phone number. And by the way, you've got a consent to contact form built in right here. So there's the first step, right? Or the pre-first step, right? Is the beneficiary is giving you permission to contact them. And gosh, that's really valuable for you going forward. As they go through the process, they're getting their address. That address will go over into their scope of appointments and application should you get to that point. They'll get a chance to look for their doctors and check whether or not they're primary doctors or whether they're in network, choose locations, because we all know some locations for some providers participate in variety networks, other locations are not in networks. So you'll get to narrow down through that. They'll get to search in all their medications, searching but with the first four letters of the medication, add those along with their refill frequency, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever the case might be. They'll get to choose a pharmacy. And I know with things like Rite Aid and CVS and everything kind of leaving the markets or leaving different markets here randomly. Well, not so randomly. There's business circumstances there, I suppose. But it can be hard to find a pharmacy, or even then a pharmacy that's in network. So telling coverage for one in Sunfire what pharmacy that your beneficiary uses, or having them tell it, can really help us figure out what plans might work for them, or figure out whether that they're comfortable with mail order prescriptions. Oftentimes there can be some savings on their prescription copays with those depending on the carrier. And the last thing it does ask them to do is complete that scope of appointment that we mentioned just a few moments ago. You all know what a scope of appointment looks like, so I won't show you the whole process. That's not valuable for anyone's time here. But they will be able to complete a scope of appointment. They'll be able to sign it either digitally or voice sign that as well. They can text it. You can text that as well. Lots of different options for them and you to help complete that scope. A really easy way to get some of your biggest compliance hurdles out of the way before the meeting starts. So if you're not yet using it, talk to Andrew, talk to me. We can help you get set up, or anyone here on the Action Benefits individual team. If you've prepared for that meeting, the next step is you want to greet. You want to get that meeting off to a good start. So you are prepared, you feel prepared, you're going in, but when you go to that meeting, first thing you got to do after you say hi, of course, always say hi, always make a friendly hello, but start your recording and provide your disclaimers within that first minute. If it is a phone or a virtual meeting. So if you're in a Zoom meeting like this one, those disclaimers have to be there and in part of the recording. Phone calls, they have to be there and part of the recording. Face-to-face meetings, not so much. No way to really verify those unless you're getting secret shopped. Also, what we'd ask you to do, and make sure you do this in every appointment, is that you state your name and that you're a licensed insurance producer. Really, in CMS's eyes, what that requirement does is makes it clear that you are not affiliated with Medicare. You're not affiliated with the government. It cements you as a licensed insurance producer or a licensed insurance agent, sets you apart, and lets the beneficiary know they're getting independent advice that's not affiliated with the programs, the Medicare program, rather. But once you've got that formal stuff out of the way, it's time to say, "Hi, Miss Smith. How are you? Who are you?" Right? And start building that relationship. Whether you see pictures in the background, if it is a virtual meeting, "Hi, I noticed pictures of your grandkids there. Tell me a little bit about them." Or, "I hear your dog bark in the background. I have a Sparky of mine at home. How's your dog doing?" Whatever the case might be, you're starting to build that relationship with them, and I think that's an important part to remind yourselves of, maybe especially is if your book isn't yet where you want it to be. Relationships matter. Insurance is a very, very personal business. People want to know you, they want to trust you if they're going to purchase or enroll with your support. Too many times, I think, especially younger and experienced agents tend to treat the enrollment or the sales meeting as more of a transaction. Here's your application, give me your signature. But we all know that people typically don't buy that way. They really want to feel comfortable with the person that's across the table from them. So take the time up front, invest the time in those relationships with a variety of questions to start building that rapport, and don't forget that. Right, that's key to that going forward. While coverage for one can't help you greet, it can't help you be a more sociable person. What we can do, though, is provide you some in our annual AEP toolkits, all those disclaimers and a call recording solution up front that you can use. So you know, as veteran agents, that if you do not offer all the plans and beneficiaries area, you've got one disclaimer you're going to read. You're going to have to do some math there as well. Our AEP toolkit helps you with that. You plug in the county the beneficiary lives in, and it'll tell you how many plans you support in that county. If you do offer all the plans in that county, you're able to do that here as well. But we also have a call recording solution for you if you do not yet have one of your own. It's provided to our agents at no cost. And we retain those recordings for the current year plus 10 years, just as CMS would require. So really another way that we're helping you be successful and compliant going forward. So the little stuff is out of the way, right? We've greeted, we've prepared, we've greeted, and now it's time to get into the nitty gritty a little bit, making sure that the person that is across the table from you is ready for and eligible to enroll in Medicare or a Medicare product. So a few thing boxes we want to check up front. First, we want to make sure we confirm all elements of the SOA. So name, address, phone number, and the products that they agreed to discuss. We want to make sure we see that red, white, and blue card and look for those Part A and B effective dates to ensure they're eligible for to enroll in a Medicare product or the specific Medicare products they might want to look for. And more on Part A and B effective dates in just a moment. The card's a pretty good indicator, but not always a great indicator if someone drops off Part B later on. You always want to make sure you confirm the permanent residence to verify the service area. And Andrew, I think you can speak to this in a moment as well, but how many times do we run into someone who is a snowbird, right? And maybe travels back and forth, but they've got an ID in Florida, but want to buy a plan in Michigan. And that just doesn't work out for them, right? Depending on the plan rules and enrollment rules. Um, so confirming that permanent residence, verifying that they live where they want to enroll is always helpful to do. Want to take a look at the applicable election period, especially if you're out AEP. Do they have a valid enrollment period that they can use here? We always want to ask about other health coverage to see whether and how it might coordinate with Medicare and whether that changes the advice that you give to the person going forward. And you always want to ask about any state or federal financial assistance they get so that you or the software you use, hint, hint, we'll get there in a minute, can help check for eligibility for any Medicare savings program, any low income subsidies to help with Part D drugs, or to check eligibility for a variety of SNPs, whether that's a D-SNP. We can talk about C-SNPs a bit later on. Andrew, I know there were a few things here that stuck out to you here as you've worked with agents.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. The big one, the state or federal assistance eligibility check, and more so on the under 65 side of things. But the amount of times I've heard an agent, yeah, we're going to have this conversation, have the plans all picked out. That question wasn't asked, and then half an hour into the meeting, it's like, oh, well, this is supposed to be a marketplace plan, and that agent isn't marketplace certified, and the meeting just stalls right there. So definitely super important to get those questions early.
Yep. And certainly with health coverage, as you might work with veterans and whether they're enrolled in TRICARE, TFL, or something else, we also want to be mindful of that as well to make sure that they are choosing a product that either coordinates or does not coordinate as appropriate for their plans and what they want out of their coverage. So again, it's always better to ask about that stuff up front. Really helps you figure out where the appointment can and should go throughout the process later on. And while coverage for one can't do all of that for you, it can do a good chunk of that for you. So long as you have the beneficiary zip code where they live, where their permanent residence is, a sample or their actual MBI and their date of birth, what you can do inside coverage for one is hit that lookup button and it will tell you whether or not they found a beneficiary in CMS's databases. So coverage for one talks directly to CMS that matches that MBI and that date of birth. And if someone returns with that, you'll see their Part A effective date, you'll see their Part B effective date, you'll see whether they're eligible for any Medicare savings program, so QuimB, SlimB, so on and so forth, and you'll see whether or not they're eligible for any LIS or receiving LIS and at what level of LIS as well. So with just a few pieces of information, you can confirm a big chunk of what Andrew and I just talked about. Of course, you'll still want to ask about other coverage, especially if they are a veteran and they may be enrolled in TFL or VA benefits or whatever the case might be. But that, those three pieces of information go a really long way toward making sure you spend your time and the beneficiary's time effectively going forward. So you're talking about the right set of products. Next thing is, before we can really talk product and really get into it, we want to figure out what products are the right fit. So I want to do a little bit of discovery with this person as we build that relationship. First, we want to know about their current health coverage. What do they currently use and how much does it cost them? Chances are if they're aging, if they're on a marketplace plan, as Andrew said, and they're aging into Medicare, it probably costs them way more than they're really comfortable paying, depending on whether or not they're eligible for subsidies on the marketplace. So they might be happy to hear that they have plans available at a zero premium or whatever the case might be, depending on where they go forward from there. But we also want to ask them what they enjoy about their current coverage. What would they like to keep from that plan? Do they really like that all their doctors are local in network? Do they like that possibility? Do they like the availability of options? Do they like the availability of hospitals? Is their coverage portable? Do they like to travel a lot? And do they have a PPO so when they go out of state, they know they'll be covered? Or do they have an HMO and they really like the cost savings and sort of the care coordination that goes along with that? I don't know that anyone really loves the care coordination that goes along with that, but it's an option. I suppose the person might exist out there. The big question though is what would make your coverage better? Miss Smith, what's missing from your plan or what do you lose sleep about at night? Chances are they're going to talk to you about out-of-pocket maximums. They're going to talk to you about deductibles and things like that. And that'll give you a good sense of what their risk is, right? What MOOP you might want to take a look at, or what Medicare supplement plan you might want to take a look at going forward, or whether they're going to prefer a prescription drug plan that favors co-pays over co-insurance where appropriate. You also want to know, and gosh, I can't tell you how many times we hear about agents that run into this here as well. Are they able to make their own enrollment decision? Especially if you are working in this with folks who might be institutionalized. There aren't many ISNPs available in Michigan, but maybe you do have someone who is looking for a Medicare Advantage plan and they're living in a home, but they're in under a power of attorney. Someone else actually has decision-making authority for their health insurance cases. You want to know that up front, right? To make sure that you are talking with and have all the right stakeholders in the room. Otherwise, you can be spinning your wheels a lot and making decisions with someone who may not be capable of making that decision. And that can be really frustrating for everyone involved. And once you've really kind of dug into those four things, give it back to them. Review what they shared. So you're currently enrolled in Plan XYZ. You really enjoy this, but you really would like to see this in your next health insurance option here. And yes, you are in fact able to make your own enrollment decision. Cool, great, Ms. Smith. Is there anything else I should know to help you choose a plan going forward? And again, Coverage for One can help you to speed that process along. It doesn't give you those questions exactly, but your medications and things would come over from the form here. Well, what we can really do is what Coverage for One does on the back end is takes a lot of these preferences into account and really ranks them on what the beneficiary's preferences are. So if the beneficiary really seems to favor flexibility to see any provider, you can check that box. If they want to keep their current doctors, check that box. If they value any of the other benefits you see here on the screen, you can check those boxes. And as Coverage for One picks out plans from your portfolio and ranks them for the beneficiary, it'll kind of zoom in and prioritize what closely matches that beneficiary's preferences. In step 5 of our 10-step process, we want to present a solution to our beneficiaries. We want to summarize what we learned in discovery, so we're restating that again. And we also want to make sure the beneficiary is aware of all of their Medicare coverage options, including Medicare supplement paired with the PDP or the Medicare Advantage route, whichever route they want to take. And we have heard from plenty of secret shoppers uh, as CMS and carriers are getting back into the field post-pandemic here, that they're finding that some or many agents aren't presenting both those pathways to them. They're presenting Medicare Advantage first. And were you to be secret shopped, or first and only, I should say, and were you to be secret shopped, that would look poorly on you, right? Or if CMS were to audit your call recording, that would reflect poorly on you and put you under the gun for compliance actions from CMS. So we always want to make sure that we review coverage options anytime, so the beneficiary really has the option to make the choice that best fits their preferences and what they want and need. Now, that doesn't mean you can't share your own thoughts about plan types and benefits that match the stated needs. Ms. Smith, what I really heard out of that is you don't mind paying more in premium as long as your out-of-pocket costs are lower every month. Maybe a Medicare Supplement Plan G is a better fit for how you choose to approach healthcare. Or, Ms. Smith, I hear that you really value some of the um, other benefits or the supplemental benefits that some of your friends might use, and you really want to see what those fitness benefits can do for you. Maybe we should explore some Medicare Advantage options here. So we want to give them those plan choices, but really give them the choice about what they'd like you to explain. Your job here is not to sell, so to speak. Your job here is to educate, to consult, to let them know of all their options and let them guide the appointment here going forward. Cards on the table, CMS has also identified that, and carriers have also identified that as a pain point in secret shopping, where the agent seems to push a solution, and that's really not what CMS would prefer in all cases. They really want the beneficiary to drive the products they want to be discussed in that conversation. Andrew, I knew you had a few things to chime in on here as well.
Yeah, putting my compliance hat back on. Even if you're meeting with a client and they're adamant, I just want a Medicare supplement, no interest in MAPD plans. PDP conversations go hand in hand with the supplement 95% of the time. So please just always get that scope and make sure that you are protected from any issues down the road.
Good tip. If there's one lesson we've given so far today, even if it's not use coverage for one, it's definitely get a scope no matter how you do it, right? Step 6 in the process is the presentation of that plan. So if they have chosen a plan or set of plans they'd like you to discuss more, well, here's where you get to get on stage and shine and do your little tap dance and talk about all the benefits here and really put it in front of folks. You want to start by explaining the plan benefits and the costs. So here's what's included in the plan. If you use this benefit, here's what it'll cost you, Ms. Smith. We also want to take the opportunity to teach the use the benefits. If it is an HMO plan that does require referrals, you want to make sure you're upfront with that and ask them, educate them about how they would get those referrals and what that process looks like for them. If there are supplemental benefits included in the plan, maybe they have True Hearing, and True Hearing carriers that partner with True Hearing rather never want you to call the actual carrier. True Hearing wants you to call True Hearing to set up your hearing appointments and hearing aids and so on and so forth. So you'd want to talk about that up front here as well. I'll kind of walk them through how they would use all of the supplemental benefits embedded in that plan as they go forward. Of course, you're taking this time to address questions as they come up. So how does that work? Well, let me use this document. We'll show you, or I can answer this, based on my experience here. You also want to talk about star ratings, CMS and secret shoppers, as we found, and we talked about some findings from secret shoppers a little bit earlier this year. They're finding that agents more often than not, at least in their smaller sample size, are glossing over star ratings and what they mean, what they do for the beneficiaries and what they can indicate. So please make sure you're indicating to beneficiaries that star ratings indicate the quality of care provided the plan and the customer satisfaction with the plan, so that helps the beneficiaries make an informed choice here as well. And you also, of course, as you're taking a look at plans, you want to confirm that the plans you're presenting do cover the drugs the beneficiary is on and that the doctors the beneficiary sees as well. Coverage for One, of course, does help you do that. So if you were to pop into Coverage for One and you were to start your quoting process, again, not showing you the whole process here, but happy to do that as well. You to get a plan card that has the benefit information laid out for you. Were you to click on details, you to get every benefit from A to Z in the plan and expand those. And here, right in the platform, you can click on plan links, print out or send a copy of summary of benefits, your evidence of coverage, and your star ratings flyers, all here in one place. If you want to go through, it's all laid out for you here, where you can put it in front of beneficiaries that might be across the table from you or otherwise. So again, real easy way to get a lot of that stuff done. Hopefully you presented that product and it's time to talk enrollment. And we always encourage you to invite the beneficiary to enroll, not to demand the beneficiary to enroll, right? CMS highly frowns upon high pressure sales tactics here. So would you like to enroll, or how does this sound to you, Ms. Smith? And no matter how you enroll, you can use enrollment software, a paper app, or instruct your beneficiary to self-enroll, depending on the software and carriers you use. Uh, I'll have Andrew chime in here on paper applications in a moment. That is a service we provide to our agents. We'll talk a little bit more about how Andrew and his team does that here for you here as well. But if they do not choose to enroll, that's okay too, right? You can certainly ask and inquire about the reasons they chose not to enroll. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe they need time to think about it. Whatever you do, though, again, you can't use high pressure sales tactics to create any false sense of urgency here that they must sign this today or this deal will go away. You can, however, state that you are near the end of a valid enrollment period. So, Ms. Smith, AEP is ending soon. So if you're going to elect this coverage, we need to make a choice soon. That's totally okay, but you can't use high pressure tactics to close the sale, so to speak. If they are not yet really ready to enroll, you have some options about what you do next. And there are two schools of thought here, based on how the agents that we work with proceed. Technically, the rules say that if the agent beneficiary just needs more time to decide, that you can use the same SOA and come back to that for that appointment. And that's the real technical reading of the rules. But we also work with agents that say, you know what? It's easier for me every time to get to get a new scope signed at the end of every time I meet with beneficiary. That makes me know I'm compliant. I know I'm ready to have my next appointment going on. Um, so either way, whatever the case might be, whether you choose to use the rule as written or whether you choose to really CYA going forward, either way is appropriate so long as you're following the rules. Um, but some people, again, like the extra shield that extra SOA can provide for them. But either way, you schedule that follow-up time, whatever that case might be. If they do enroll, I invite them to complete their HRAs if available. And we know as carriers continue to evolve here and CMS rules continue to evolve here, less of that HRA responsibility is falling on you. But some carriers do still provide the opportunity for you to complete HRAs, especially for health risk assessments, to be precise here, especially for your DSNP enrollees. And if there's any other additional forms that might be helpful, I invite them to complete those as well and to submit that application within 24 hours. Now, before I show you electronic applications and we talk about those and how we can help, Andrew, how can we help with paper applications if the agent or the beneficiary prefers those?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Blue Cross Priority Health, if your client wants to do a paper application, you get that paper, scan it, you can send it to us. We will process it, follow it, keep you updated on the status of everything. If you're doing a PDF or DocuSign through Action Benefits, we will process it. Even if you're going online and submitting it yourself, once you submit that application and you get to that confirmation screen, go ahead, print that screen off, send that to us. We will track it. We will make sure it's in system. And if any issues arise, we will handle it. and then figure out what's going on. Let us do the heavy or annoying lifting for you, so you can focus on relationship building with your clients. You can focus on the next appointment, or anything else that is more fun than putting in applications.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the unique value adds here we have over, several competitors in the market is that we take a proactive approach to monitoring those applications. So as soon as you get it into our office, Andrew or someone on his team is watching that in carrier. They're submitting it on your behalf, but they're also watching that in carrier systems to make sure it goes into effect for the proposed effective date. And if it doesn't, or if it gets kicked back to you, as Andrew said, they're happy to work with you on that. And again, just as a pointer, you can complete the enrollment process here. An app is an app is an app. So you'll start the application with a benefit review. You'll talk about applicant info. You'll get their Medicare card. You'll confirm plan details and review and submit the app, along with all the disclaimers you've got to read as part of that. Coverage for One walks you through that process as well. Again, really simple way to comply with everything CMS wants you to do. If we've got that enrollment in hand, we want to wrap up that appointment, and we always want to make sure that we congratulate that decision, let them know that they made a great choice in working with you and choosing a plan that really fits their needs based on what they've discussed with you here today. You also want to remind them of their proposed effective date. So saying that, if everything goes to plan, this coverage should go to effect on January 1st. And shortly before or after that, depending on enrollment, you'll get your ID cards. Tell them a bit about what comes next. But always remind them to use their current coverage until that effective date hits. Even if they get an ID card before their effective date, which if plans are on top of their stuff, that can often happen. That effective date, that card for the plan that becomes effective on January 1st isn't going to help them much on December 18th. So make sure that they are using that current coverage until that effective date. If they are in a Medigap, or they're moving to a or currently on a Medigap, moving to an MAPD, as more and more people are going to get priced out of their Plan Gs as things get more and more expensive here. Remind them to cancel that Medigap after the MAPD becomes effective, and certainly not before. Do schedule up your follow-up appointments and secure an SOA. Even if you don't plan on talking to this person about products or about benefits until AEP next year, get that SOA signed now, because that way, if they have a question or if they come upon an SEP in the middle of the year, you can help them right away without that 48-hour cooldown period without the year. Or if you do wait till AEP to the next time you see them again, you can do it right when AEP starts. You don't have to wait 48 hours to get to after they sign the SOA to get that done. So a good practice in general, so to speak, is to get an SOA signed at the end of every appointment. Because they're good for 1 year, that way you'll be able to use it the next time you need to talk product with that person. And always, consumers by and large don't know or aren't aware that your business likely depends on referrals and who they send your way. And like a lot of things, you can't get it if you don't ask for it. So make sure that as part of the end of your presentation or near the end of your presentation, you're asking about other people who might need help with Medicare or Marketplace or with health insurance in general, so that you can help support them with those choices as well, and place a few business cards in the hand while you're doing so. On the back end, once the appointment is over, you want to move toward finalizing that appointment. So your used SOA, your applications, and any notes you might have, add them all to your records, put them in one bundle, retain them for the remainder of the current year plus 10 years, and schedule your next outreach. So are you going to talk to this person again in 30 days or 15 days after their effective date or 30 days? Are you going to make sure they've gotten their ID cards and all their plan materials and are using their benefits? One thing that sounds, it sounds may date us, I guess, so to speak, but gosh, this goes a long way, especially with a senior population, is sending a thank you note after the enrollment. And this isn't certainly a compliance thing by any means, but we've seen more agents have success with this than not. Sending that thank you note lets them know that you do truly appreciate their business. makes them think a little bit more highly of you and more likely to pass your business card on. My agent's a super nice guy. They even sent me a thank you note after I enrolled with them. You should talk to them too. Do hold that follow-up appointment. So even if that is a 30, 60, 90-day follow-up, whatever the case might be, make sure they know how to use their benefits. They're enjoying the benefits. They're getting what they think they enrolled in out of that, or do any education that you may need to here as well. And of course, respond promptly to any questions and service as you might like. The other thing to think about here, especially if you got the SOA at the end of the enrollment appointment, is you can use that to hold a pre-AEP appointment to review their annual notices of change and talk about what options they might have during pre-AEP, right? Or if you have a lot of clients that are in the similar plans, maybe everyone's in your county's top selling plan, which might be the Blue Cross PPO Essential. Maybe, I'm not saying it will, but maybe there are a bunch of changes to it next year. If you can use that SOA to get everyone in a room, talk a bit about what the plan changes are and talk about what options they might have. So that way, when enrollments are greenlit in the middle of October, you can move into that process fairly quickly. It's all about kind of setting yourself up for efficiency and speed once everything hits the fan and AEP starts. If you want to save that enrollment or give it over to Andrew's team to track here as well, this is what it looks like when a enrollment is complete. You can email yourself a confirmation, email yourself that PDF of that as well, or email it over to Andrew and his team. You can save that PDF to put it in your records here as well, along with the screenshot here. It gives you everything you need to prove the enrollment was done and follow up on it here as well. Um, And last step in the whole process is asking a bit about supplemental coverage. And we see agents, they can do a lot more to protect their beneficiaries at this step, and also can do some more to, frankly, boost their own income stream with some supplemental products here at the end of the appointment as well. But if and only if the supplemental ancillary box is checked on the scope of appointment. During that time or toward the end of the appointment, it's always a good idea to review the coverage, how the plan covers hospital stays. How does that major medical plan cover ambulance? Outpatient therapies, whether it's OT, PT, or ST, speech therapy. How does it cover SNFs? Should those be required? And how does it cover ER visits? Should those be required as well? And as you take a look at that hospital copay, which could be 6 days times $400 or 7 days times $400, that's $2,800 for a week in the hospital, plus $250 to get to the hospital, plus $50 copays for your PT once you get out. Maybe you need to stay in a SNF if you have a fall and you need some rehab from that here as well. Oh, and if the ambulance took you to the ER, there's another episode of care that's added to that here, right? So those copays for one big incident can add up pretty quickly. So you want to ask your client whether or not they have a plan for addressing those out-of-pocket costs. If the worst were to happen, Ms. Smith, you were to fall, to suffer an injury, and had all these costs in front of you, how would you address them? Do you have the means to do so out of pocket, or how would those help? Depending on their answer, you may have an opening to present a hospital indemnity plan that helps to offset those costs. Hospital indemnity plans, of course, are built to really pay for those hospital copays, but with riders can offset the rest of the costs you see here on the screen here as well. And generally, you can do that depending on how you build the benefit for anywhere between $45 to $70 a month, depending on how rich, again, of a riders you want and what coverage you want to add. So you're really providing some additional protection for your clients on that $0 plan. And again, you can invite them to enroll, or and if not, of course, you're no pressure sales here. That's part of that part and parcel of the deal here as well. Andrew, I know you had some experience with one of these plans in your own family that you wanted to share.
Yeah. Last year, my mom was supposed to go in for a 3 to 4 day hospital stint for a procedure, and ended up being 4 weeks. On top of all of the stress of just everything that was going on, after a couple of weeks, she started thinking, oh my God, I have no money coming in, and this isn't cheap staying here. What is this bill gonna look like? And she was on the uh, PPO essential, but we submitted all her stuff, and she ended up getting like $4,000 back, which it was huge. It provided such a stress reliever during that time for her. And if a client of yours uh, thinks, maybe this could be something for how these things are priced and the amount of relief it can provide for them, it really goes a long way.
Yeah, that when Andrew and I were talking yesterday, you framed it really well as kind of insurance for your insurance, right? There's holes in that Medicare policy, whether it's an MAPD or a high deductible G or even a Plan N. There's holes there, right? There's out-of-pocket liabilities for a fraction of the cost. You can really help to offset those for your clients going forward. But that said, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about 10 steps in just about 45 minutes or so. We brought you through how to prepare, all the way through how to close that appointment, and how to hopefully secure some additional protection and additional sales for your clients and yourself here as well. Shortly after the session ends, you'll see a pop-up on your screen that brings you over to a spot where you can download a form, or download a job aid, talks you through everything we talked about here today, puts all the 10 steps in one or two nice rows for you, all on one sheet of paper. You can kind of go back to that and view that as a nice one-page reminder of all those things we talked about today and what would be helpful for you to get done throughout your Medicare appointments going forward. We do want to thank you again, as always, for your time and attention here today. You're always welcome to get in touch with Action Benefits on LinkedIn at the Action Benefits Company. You can always email my team at learning@actionbenefits.com, or always reach out to our main line at 248-356-8585. And Andrew and his team are available at individual@actionbenefits.com as well. Andrew, before we part ways for the day, any last words for our audience?
Yeah, just circling back really quick to the thank you note. Um, you can do leads and marketing and ads and all of that, and that stuff is great. It is successful, but creating a positive experience for a client and getting that word of mouth, um, things like thank you notes, the personal touch, that experience added to the whole equation goes so far. Word of mouth and referrals will be such a higher success rate than anything else you can do. So really, really important creating that experience for a clientele.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I work on all the other stuff. We hear more agents, have success, right? With the word of mouth marketing, especially in their early years as they're starting out and learning how to scale their business. Those one-to-one relationships are by far the best way we've found to do that. So making sure that you're creating those experiences goes a really long way toward securing your future, but also securing the future of those that you serve as well. All that said, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you again for your time and attention. For those of you new to Action Benefits, thank you for spending some time with us here today. We look forward to seeing you again at another Action Academy session. And please do not hesitate to reach out to us should you have any questions about anything you heard today or anything else going on in the Medicare market. We look forward to seeing you all again soon.